Warning: Canadians staying over 30 days in the US must register or face arrest. Welcome back to Canada Chronicles. If you're a Canadian who travels to the United States, whether it's for a few weeks of sunshine, visiting family, or working remotely, there's a critical new rule you need to know about. As of March 2025, Canadians staying in the US for more than 30 days must register with United States immigration authorities. Failing to do so could now mean fines, detention, or even getting banned from re-entry. This change isn't just a policy tweak. It's a serious shift in how Canadians are treated at the border. In today's video, we're breaking down exactly what's changed, who's affected, and how to avoid getting flagged by border agents. And stay tuned until the end, because we're also looking ahead at a major change coming soon, a new exit tracking system that could automatically flag Canadians as overstayers, even if they leave on time. Yes, this could mean travel bans, even for people who followed the rules. So, if you want to protect your ability to visit the US, keep your travel record clean, and stay informed on the latest cross-border policies, don't go anywhere. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates that could affect your future travel. Let's get started. Why the rules just changed. For decades, Canadians crossed into the United States freely for tourism, family visits, seasonal work, and short-term business. There was an unspoken trust. Canadians didn't need a visa for short stays and were rarely questioned beyond the basic border process. Many snowbirds, tech workers, hospitality professionals, and families took advantage of that flexibility. But as of March 2025, that casual, open border dynamic has changed. The Government of Canada updated its official travel advisory to warn Canadians that they must now register with U.S. immigration authorities if they stay more than 30 days. The warning is not vague. It says travelers who fail to register risk detention, fines, prosecution for misdemeanors, and even deportation. This shift is happening under the Trump administration's second term, where immigration enforcement has become far more aggressive. The new policies are not just targeting undocumented migrants or asylum seekers. They're being applied to travelers from countries like Canada, Germany, and the United Kingdom. Canadians who once believed they had automatic access to the US for up to 6 months are now learning that those assumptions no longer apply. Understanding the 30-day rule. If you're planning to stay in the US for more than 30 consecutive days, you are now required to register. This registration isn't optional, and it doesn't matter if you were verbally told you could stay for 6 months. If you hit the 31st day without proper documentation, you could be considered out of status. This applies across the board, from retirees escaping the Canadian winter to digital workers setting up temporarily in Texas or California, and even to those visiting close family for an extended period. Without registering, you risk being flagged by U.S. immigration officials as overstaying your visit. And once flagged, even if unintentionally, your future access to the United States could be severely restricted or revoked. How to register your stay. The I-94 system. At the heart of this new enforcement is the I-94 system. This is an entry and exit record maintained by United States Customs and Border Protection. It logs the date you entered the U.S., under what status you were admitted, such as a visitor for pleasure or business, and how long you're authorized to remain. For Canadians arriving by air or sea, the I-94 is often created automatically. But if you're like most snowbirds or regular land border travelers, driving into the U.S. in your own car or RV, you might not receive one at all unless you specifically ask for it. That's where things get dangerous. Without an I-94, there's no official record of how long you were allowed to stay. So even if you return before the 6-month mark, without that formal registration, your stay may not be considered valid. To avoid this, Canadians staying more than 30 days should either apply for an I-94 online before travel or request one in person at a border crossing. After entry, you can check your I-94 status at the official U.S. Customs and Border Protection website. If it doesn't exist, act immediately. It's your responsibility to make sure this record is in place. Border officers are no longer responsible for informing you. The burden now falls entirely on travelers to comply with the rule. What happens if you don't register? Let's be clear. This isn't just a technicality. Failing to register is now considered a violation of U.S. immigration law. If discovered, it can lead to misdemeanor charges, monetary penalties, lengthy detentions, or deportation proceedings. Once deported or denied entry, you could face re-entry bans ranging from 3 to 10 years, depending on the situation. The consequences are particularly severe for Canadians who rely on access to the U.S. for work, medical care, family connections, or property ownership. There are already confirmed cases of travelers from allied countries like Germany being detained for failing to follow these new protocols, even with valid travel documents. The US government has made it clear that intentions and past behavior don't matter. If your record is missing or your stay isn't officially documented, enforcement agents will act on that. Who should be most concerned? This policy applies to every Canadian traveler, but there are specific groups that should be especially careful. Snowbirds are the most obvious. Thousands of Canadians head to states like Florida, Arizona, and California for 4 to 6 months every winter. Many of them enter by land and stay in rental homes, RV parks, or properties they own. Without an I-94, these long-term stays now raise serious red flags. Remote workers, particularly those in the tech, design, and media sectors, often travel to the US for lifestyle and productivity advantages. If you're working online in the US, even for a Canadian company, and staying longer than 30 days, you may be seen as having immigration intent. Students enrolled in short-term certificate or exchange programs are also vulnerable. Many of these programs last over 30 days but are still not long enough to require formal student visas. These students often assume they're fine under the 6-month rule. That's no longer the case. And for Canadians in cross-border relationships or with US-based family, long visits are common. But without registration, these frequent extended stays can result in being flagged as trying to reside in the US unlawfully. Even frequent business travelers, those who fly in for quarterly meetings, site visits, or conferences, could draw attention if their trips appear too frequent or lengthy. The US is now examining travel patterns, not just individual trips. Industries that rely on cross-border movement. This change doesn't just affect individuals, it impacts entire sectors that rely on cross-border labor and travel. Industries like agriculture, construction, and hospitality depend heavily on seasonal and temporary foreign workers, many of whom enter the US from Canada. In healthcare, Canadian professionals regularly travel for training, collaborative research, or temporary staffing contracts, especially in underserved regions. Additionally, the technology and entertainment industries often rely on flexible cross-border access for creative and contract-based work. Restricting Canadian mobility, even unintentionally, disrupts these sectors and strains professional relationships. So while the rule appears to target casual visitors, its ripple effect reaches businesses, healthcare systems, and even bilateral cultural projects. The Canadian government can't intervene. One of the most dangerous misconceptions is that the Canadian government can protect you if things go wrong. That's not true. Canada has made it clear that it cannot intervene in another country's immigration decisions. If you're detained, charged, or denied entry, consular officials can offer basic assistance, like helping you contact legal aid or family, but they cannot stop deportation or reverse a travel ban. The message is simple. You are responsible for complying with the entry rules of the country you are visiting. Thanks for staying with us this far. We appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information valuable. Now, let's look at a major change coming next, something that could affect even travelers who do everything right. Coming soon. Exit tracking at land borders could trigger travel bans for Canadians. Historically, the United States has monitored entries into the country far more closely than exits. Especially at land crossings, there has been no consistent system to track when foreign visitors leave. That's changing fast. The US is rolling out full exit tracking at major land border crossings with Canada. This includes biometric scans, license plate readers, and facial recognition technology. The goal is to create a real-time digital record of when a visitor leaves the country. Here's where it gets risky. If your I-94 says you're supposed to leave by a certain date, and the system doesn't show you exiting, you may be automatically flagged as an overstayer. That's true even if you left on time. A glitch in the system, a missed scan, or human error could mark you as violating your stay. That alone could result in a travel ban lasting years, even if you followed every rule. This means travelers must now take active steps to ensure their departure is properly logged. That might mean confirming your exit with an officer at the border, using a designated exit kiosk, or keeping receipts, toll records, or timestamps showing you left the country on time. Legal experts and immigration advisors are now urging Canadian travelers to treat every US visit like a formal, fully documented process. Gone are the days of casual, cross-border trips. From now on, every trip should be treated with the same care as entering a country with a visa. And that wraps up today's update. The days of casually crossing the US border and staying as long as you want are over. Whether you're a snowbird, student, remote worker, or just visiting family, the new 30-day rule means you need to be proactive. Register your stay. Track your exit. And stay informed, because even small mistakes could lead to big consequences. With exit tracking systems on the way, the US is getting serious about enforcement, and Canadians can no longer afford to overlook these changes. If this video helped you understand what's at stake, drop a like, share it with someone who needs to see it, and most importantly, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. We'll keep bringing you accurate, up-to-date info to protect your mobility and peace of mind. This is Canada Chronicles, keeping you informed, one policy at a time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.